I always imagine that I'm just trying to get a high score. If I grow 1,000 followers, I'm like, oh, I've just got another high score. And then with the views and the shares and all that, they're just arbitrary numbers that are part of a scoring system. So to me, I never sit back and go, yeah, babe, 200,000 people saw that. To me, I'm like, sick, high score.
Yeah.
But then when you meet people, and like you say, when those videos go around, I still don't feel like people have read my books either. So people are like, oh, your books really changed my life. And I'm like, cheers.
Yeah.
Like, how are people, similar to yourself, I'm sure people are going, oh, I absolutely love your podcast.
Yeah.
And you're like,
And I'm like, why haven't you subscribed, you dickhead?
get your phone out.
Get your phone out and show. You're not even following me on fucking Instagram.
Show me how much you like the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, welcome to another episode of Jibber with Jabber. Today I have the one and only Jamessmithpt with me. How you doing, mate?
Mate, this setup, I walked in, I was worried they might have the wrong James Smith. We've got a studio, I've got myself on screens, I've got makeup. I really hope I can deliver.
You'll definitely be able to deliver, mate. Like, I wanted to, well, for those of you who don't know, for the three of you that don't know who James is, you've been, obviously, people say that you're the Gordon Ramsay of fitness. I prefer to kind of say that you're, if no fucks given was personified, it would be you. And I just want to start this podcast by saying, I think my wife fancies you a little bit, so bit of a prick to me too. But I get it. She's obviously attracted to very, very attractive men because she married me. Dubai. Tell me about it, man. Tell me about your experiences, because it's not the first time you're here. You've been actually here loads of times.
I played in the sevens maybe 4 times. And so my idea of Dubai is a very bad hangover, staying in JBR, getting on a minibus very early in the morning, having our coaches kick the air stewardesses out our rooms. So
the batches.
Yeah, so I remember my first time here, one of my friends was like, oh, Dubai's like pretty good for pulling. I was like, behave, we're going to the Middle East. And
I just thought it would be like camels. And it's just
And this guy was like, these are Emirates girls. And I was like, oh, right, okay. He goes, there's like 10,000 of them here. And he goes, come with me, watch this. And he comes up and we go to a group of like 5 girls. He goes, hey girls, we're having an after party. Do you want to come in Brasty? And they all said yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God. So then I was a player here every year. But I didn't really love Dubai because I never got to experience it for what it is. And one of my favorite nights here so far was actually where me and a friend ordered poke bowls, stayed in and watched a film. And when I've actually now experienced the normal side of life here, it's really starting to grow on me.
Yeah. Did you ever see it as a place you could consider staying in, or?
Do you know what?
Choose your words wisely, tourist. Otherwise, your visa for next coming in will not be given or granted.
I joke around with people and say that Dubai is a place for people that haven't been to Australia. So I love Australia. I went there maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I sat there and I was like, I could live here. Like, I could do this every day until I die. I haven't had that feeling here in Dubai. I mean, I'm always a little bit on the edge here because of the authorities, not because I've done anything wrong, but the implications of disrespecting the culture are so severe. Like, you can take the piss out of an Australian all day and they'll find you funny. In New Zealand, the more you take the piss out of them, the more likable you are. In the UAE, you step out of line and there can be severe punishment. So I think that as I'm getting old, do you get more anxious as you get older?
Yeah.
Just about the little thing.
Yeah. About the
we rented a Lamborghini the other day. It was the worst day of my life.
Really? Were you
So we got my friend and I was like, let's be wankers and we'll rent a Lamborghini. So come outside my hotel, there's an Aventador, and I was like, wow, this is an amazing car. And I said to her, how did you find this company? She goes, oh, they're on Instagram and I picked them because I didn't have many followers, so they'd give you a discount. And I was like, okay, the legitimacy of that car rental company just plummeted. And I was like, okay, so they could be really dodgy. So I said to the guy, I'm like, hey bro, where are you from? He's like, I'm from Russia.
And you're like, okay, they're going to kill me if I scratch this car, bro.
So I'm in Dubai. He's taking a photo shoot of my visa and all my papers. I've got a $500,000 car and I've just rented it for some Russians. And when I'm signing these bits, like, do not go off road, do not do this, I say to my friend, I go, did you get an insurance policy? She's like, I haven't really read any of it. So we're going down like some of the roads and I'm just like, one wrong turn here, I'm in trouble. And I was like, imagine if these Russians are in bed with some dodgy people here. And
you say imagine, but Russians and in bed with dodgy is a very common phrase that's put together, bro.
So I was on edge and my friend's like, relax. I'm like, it's cool, you live here. You've got no issues. If they take my passport, I can't can't do anything. So yeah, it's great to be here. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying like the connects and how kind everyone is here, especially kind of like the expat community of British people. Like everyone's kind of got your back. I'm liking that.
Yeah, but also at the same time, they have kind of like funny rules here where if you do something and your passport gets taken by the police, you can then call me and go, mate, listen, I want to travel. Can you swap your passport for mine? No, this is legit. Can you swap your passport for mine so I can get mine out? Go. And when I get back, I'll swap the passports back. Like I actually did that with a friend of mine. He was like, look, I need to go on holiday. And I was like, yeah, I mean, knowing the friend, everything was telling me, don't do it. He's not coming back. But it was all right. He came back and we just swapped the passports back.
Could you, part of me as well, I've already thought about all the ways out. I was like, part of me could say, I've lost it.
Nah.
Doesn't work.
Because you would lose your freedom too. They'd be like, yeah, that's not the only thing you've lost, my friend. You're also not free. Okay, so let's talk about your transition between a 9 to 5 and getting into PT. What was the eureka moment where you were like, nah, not this anymore?
So my dad encompasses everything that I hate in life.
Beautiful.
Like, so my dad had 9 to 5, he had a corporate. It's been my mum 50 years, worked in the same business for 50 years. So if there was anyone that could be more different from what I aspire for in life, it'd be that. And it's nothing personal to him. For his time, that was amazing. But growing up, I decided that I wanted to kind of follow that. I was like, okay, my dad's managing director of a business. He works in the city. He works 9 till 5. And he'd done such an amazing thing for my family. And I thought, okay, that's almost like the blueprint that I need to follow in life. That's what people do. And no one tells you differently or otherwise. So, you know, go to school, do well, go to college, do well, go to uni, do well. I fucked out 3 out of 3, didn't do any of those. And so then I found myself in like the corporate world and working in sales and IT sales and in an office wearing a suit, and then did a stint in recruitment. And I thought everyone else was like mental. I was like, how can everyone here be so happy doing something that I hate? And then I used to have these like little midlife crises where I went away to play rugby in New Zealand, came back, went into the boring mundane world. You know, I just, every 6 months or a year, I just bottle it and be like, I need to get out of here. And then it was when I went to Asia for 6 months, I came back and my sister was like, you need to be a PT. She was like, you're always raving about fitness stuff. I can tell you're clearly passionate about it. And she was like, I think you need to do a job you enjoy. And after being in Asia where people have so much less than you and they're still really happy, you're like, what? You're like, there's something not quite right with the way I'm seeing the world. And I thought, if I charge £30 for PT, if I see 3 people a day, I can live off that.
Yeah.
I was like, what a worst case scenario that is. And I started working as a PT in Bracknell. Whereabouts in the UK are you from?
London.
Whereabouts in London?
Kensington.
Kensington.
That guard that you see out there standing outside the office, he's actually one of my guards from the palace.
So I'm from like Windsor, Ascot way. So we've got a few of those as well. No, but then I was working in like a technology park in Bracknell, just churning through PT sessions, just really enjoying it. And I think that's where a lot of the no fucks given attitude comes from, because I'm quite happy to go back to that life. Will I don't know. If I did, would I still think the same? But part of me thinks that this is all just an added bonus. Like everything's got so crazily carried away. Like I feel like I don't deserve a lot of this, so I never really care about it too much, because the more you care about this stuff and your followers and how much you earn and how your business performs, the more it takes control of you. And I think that not giving a fuck gives me that kind of freedom to not care as much.
But have you always had that no fucks given kind of attitude, even when you were in 9 to 5? Were they like, listen, I need that paperwork on my table, and you were like, fuck off, look, paperwork, let me tell you about the history of paperwork. It doesn't fucking exist, mate. It doesn't. Or were you kind of like, was it after you got there you were like, hold on a minute?
I would do the least amount of work possible. I'd make up the most bullshit excuses. In one office, they gave me an award for amateur philosopher. They were like, the amount of shit that comes out your mouth. And there was even like I wouldn't do a lot. I'd actually watch YouTube videos. So people would hear me pissing myself laughing, but trying to hold it in. I'd let out that noise. It's like and someone's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm watching fail compilations. I'm watching videos of people falling over. And I was like, this is my life. Going to Morrison's, getting a salad, getting a packet of chicken, sitting at my desk and watching fail compilations. So I've always been
lazy.
Lazy, and also very like disruptive in the sense that at school I was bundled into having learning difficulties, where I think that actually now if we were to look at their education system, I think that some people can go down the path of that system, and then the others aren't built for that, and they're told, oh, you've got a learning difficulty or you've got ADHD. People are very quick to try and drug the kids. Or we'll give speed to the kids that, you know, can't concentrate. We'll give anti-anxiety meds to the girls that, you know, are having issues or whatever, rather than saying, do you know what? If you look at some of the best creatives that you know, and some of the people that are artistic, good with content, even best podcasters, none of them were like good in school. I feel like we've got that really kind of wrong. But yeah, the whole way through my life up until 24, I was never really good or even moderately impressive at anything. Even at rugby, I wasn't that great. Like, I played a decent level and I had a couple of seasons semi-pro where you get like 100 quid if you play.
Yeah.
Like, then I was like, this is fucking sick. But then I was like, all right, I'm giving up 2.5 hours on a Tuesday night, Thursday night, and a whole Saturday for 100 quid.
It doesn't work. It's not a career, is it? A career path.
And people, and up until 27, someone said like, who are you? I'd be like, I'm a rugby player that's a PT. That's all I would have said.
Yeah. You don't know, and you don't actually know, right? You're just like, yeah, I kind of do PT and then I do rugby, and
that's it. That's my life. It.
And that's like now when people are like, what do you do? I feel weird saying, yeah, I kind of do podcasts or YouTube or whatever. I'm like, I'm a grown ass man. Like, how am I telling people that I do that for a living? Like, lucky I already got married while I had a job. Otherwise, I can't go to my wife's parents when you're going there to ask for a hand. What do you do? Yeah, I do YouTube. They'll be like, what?
Hey, it's the craziest thing in the world. And like, even now where like I'll meet someone, or, you know, the last year of like dating, I remember probably about a year ago, I one of my things about dating is I hate traditional first dates. I can't imagine anything worse now than going and drinking alcohol with a stranger. Because even if you get there and they're not that impressive, or you're like, oh God, you don't look like anything in your pictures.
Which is everyone these days, dude.
4 drinks in, you're like, oh, you're all right. Yeah. But then, so I didn't like the dynamic of people knowing what I did for work. And my biggest kind of following age demographic is 25 to 35-year-old women. People don't understand that. So if you're a Premiership footballer, you've probably got more followers than me, but they're all teenage boys. I have more 25 to 35-year-old women following me than many other professionals. So when it comes to dating and being 32 and you're looking at a dating pool, a large amount of women between London and Sydney follow me, but I don't particularly like that dynamic, because when I meet them, they're like, I'm like, oh, so I did this. They're like, we know.
Yeah,
and I did this, we know. Oh, yeah, I read your book or whatever it is. And
there's nothing really to talk about, really, is there? Because it's like they know so much. It's a bit weird as well. It's kind of like, you know me so well, but I don't know anything about you. And it's like,
I met a girl at brunch on Friday and we're chatting, and I was saying something about what I do for work. She's like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I show you my Insta. And then
as you do, you just be like showing your Insta.
I'm not in like a cocky way. I was just like, oh look, I pretty much make stupid videos and people join my PT program. And then, mate, 3 hours in, she goes, hold on, and she opens her Audible. She's nearly finished my book.
No way.
And I was like, fucking hell. I was like, this is a bit mental. But imagine like walking on Bondi Beach and I'm like on a date with a girl and I'm like, oh, so I've got an online business, blah blah blah. And then an Irish girl coming the other way will have a meltdown. Oh my God, is that James Smith? Oh my God, James. And the girl,
it's a weird Irish accent that you've got.
James. And then suddenly the girl that I'm on a date with, she's like, what the fuck is going on? So it's pretty dysfunctional in that sense and that standpoint. But yeah, mate, it's the pros always outweigh the cons.
But how did that work when it came to the boost of followers? Because this is going to sound really weird, and not as weird as all the stuff I was saying to you off camera. But do you know how I found out about you?
Go on.
It was a video about roids. My 58-year-old Lebanese mum sent it to me on WhatsApp.
No way.
Yeah, because obviously your videos go around in WhatsApp groups and all that stuff. So it just shows that the crazy, circulation of where all your videos are going. Like, how did that feel from starting your first couple of videos? I mean, did you think it was going to, blow and go viral, or were you kind of like surprised?
So for the first like 4 years, I was writing blogs. I was on WordPress. I was like, here's the difference between potato and sweet potato. And then I tried my hand at videos maybe like 2-3 years in. They were shocking, mate. I would they were time efficient. So I'd get my phone, I'd go into like the PT locker room, I'd get a whiteboard out and I would talk about, calorie surplus, calorie deficit, maintenance, and like try and depict it that way. And then there were some topics that I would get a bit pissed off about. And I was like, why are these ones doing so much better? And then I realized that people actually enjoy seeing the rant. They enjoy seeing you like lose your shit. So then I was like, oh, we're onto something here. And I always joke around and say, like, when dudes start hooking up with a chick, they're very assumptive of what she likes. And really their best bet is to say, hey, like, what do you like? But over time, and the longer you date someone, you know what they like, you know what they don't like. So I was having to do that with the social media audience that was growing. So every once in a while, I throw spanners in the work and see what happens. And some of my videos will get me mass unfollows, but I will sell a huge amount of memberships to my academy. Then other times, the following rate will be going up, but no one will be going through to my website. So there's this real interesting kind of scientific experiment as to how you manipulate things. And I've also got like to ensure that if I don't want to be too ranty because then you're too negative, but then you want like a rant, then something positive, then something that's going to make people feel better, then something that's funny. So I'm constantly like juggling this thing, but to me, everything that I do within work is like a game. So I always imagine that I'm just trying to get a high score. If I grow 1,000 followers, I'm like, oh, I've just got another high score. And then with the views and the shares and all that, they're just arbitrary numbers that are part of a scoring system. So to me, I never sit back and go, yeah, babe, 200,000 people saw that. To me, I'm like, sick, high score. Yeah. But then when you meet people, and like you say, when those videos go around, I still don't feel like people have read my books either. So people are like, oh, your books really changed my life. And I'm like, cheers. Yeah. Like, how are people, similar to yourself, I'm sure people are going, oh, I absolutely love your podcast. Yeah. And you're like,
and I'm like, why haven't you subscribed, you dickhead?
Get your phone out.
Get your phone out and show. You're not even following me on fucking
Instagram. Show me how much you like the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's a very bizarre kind of experience, but then at the same time, I'm thoroughly enjoying just the journey and I'm playing the game every day. So like even today, I'm sat in my hotel room. I'm like, right, I've got the podcast tonight at 7. It's 5 p.m. I need to get food in at some point. And I was like, what can I do to play the game? What can I do to spin the wheel? And I'm like, oh, I've done 4 educational posts. I was like, let's rant about something. Let's have some fun. And my little thing that I have that I haven't told many people is every time I post, I look through the comments, and if no one says that's the best video you've done, I'm deeply disappointed. Really? Every single one.
Don't worry, I'll be cheering you up on your next couple of posts, mate. But do you know what I find really good about you and why you're so smart? I don't know if you've ever thought about it like this, but you have a very kind of stand-up comedy kind of structure to your stuff. Because, I mean, look, you look at people like Dave Chappelle, okay? The GOAT when it comes to comedy. Why is he the GOAT? Because there's so much information that he's given that's really, I mean, if you look at his last special, it was some serious topics that he was talking about. But what he'll do is a minute into it, he'll misdirect them and they'll start cracking up. And then he'll put some more information, and then he'll put another funny thing in the middle of it, and then they'll start cracking up. And then he'll put, so you do a lot of that, I've noticed with your stuff, where you kind of mix stuff together where there's a message, but you say it in a way that's kind of like softens the message in between the things. Like, is that something that you do on purpose, or?
Yeah, and it's something that, I kind of figured out over time. And I mean, even, I think a lot of people can misconstrue that people are going onto social media. Yeah, they want to be enlightened and motivated, inspired or whatever, and educated, but they also want to be entertained. That's why TikTokers, when TikTok started, I was like, you guys are dumb. Yeah. Now I'm like, oh my God.
Why didn't I start?
This is moving. Yeah. But people need like something to make them feel better, whether they're having a shit at work or they're a bit bored or they're killing time. Suddenly, like all these little pockets of dead time, I was like, if people can associate you putting a smile on their face, they'll come for the banter but keep the information. And there's this very like delicate little world, and like the events we're doing at the moment, I'm trying to mix the TED Talk and stand up together. Okay. And it's going well. It's quite a difficult model, but for once, when Rogan talks about stand up and bits and all that, I'm starting to appreciate that now. And I find that your best bits are spotted by your mates. Yeah. You'll say something funny and your mates are like, you've got to talk about that. Yeah. Or that's a bit. Yeah. And the talk at the moment, having a book as well to do it off the back of was incredible. But I was like, if we can make people laugh, that's great. That's one thing. If we can educate someone or give them a slightly different perception about something that's going on in their life, that's amazing. But if we can do both, there's a real niche in the industry. Like I remember there was a time where I used to rank 10 people in the fitness industry that were like the dogs of the big dogs of the UK industry. And I was like looking at them and I was like, okay, I'm climbing up this like kind of hierarchy that I've set. And I was like, I'm not going to be in better shape. I'm not going to be smarter than these guys. I'm not going to be more experienced. Like I bypass any of these, but I was like, do you know what? I might be better at just communicating than them. And I was like, this is my niche. The way I say things is going to be my way into getting in there. And yeah, I have days where I'm a bit like, all right, I don't actually know that much. But I was like, if I can take other people's information that are smarter than me
and just transform it,
and I can break it down, because again, the kind of like niche I had in the industry, I would quite get excited about listening to a boring podcast about caffeine. I'd listen to it for an hour and then I'd break it down into 3 minutes as a bit. And then when I do my Q&As and my lives or whatever, I could present that bit and then save the people that hour. And then I put it into a module and put it in my academy. And I was like, why is no one else taking hours of information and putting it into small things? And I think that through having learning difficulties at school, I make analogies out of everything. And my friends even say to me, like, how did you just turn that into an analogy? And I think it's because I like to have a very basic understanding of things. So I do it in my head automatically. But then, like, I posted a video today comparing, someone was telling me a posterior pelvic tilt where they're like, you tuck your tailbone. And I was like, that's like when you give a girl an extra inch. And my mate's like, you've got to do that in a video. And I was like, they're like, how did you think of that? And I was like, well, that's the first thing that came into my mind. And I think that there's a very delicate balance between dumbing down things for people and then being condescending. And I'm trying my best to always be on there.
Definitely, because the whole fitness industry, I mean, there is nothing worse than these PTs who are so fucking condescending. And look, a lot of them are very knowledgeable and a lot of them do know what they're talking about. But the way they say it is just like, you're not reaching anyone this way. And again, I think that's why so many people warm to you, because you're so unapologetic, say it again. Unapologetic to you. Yeah. So that's what I think people warm to, because they like that stuff. I mean, I was talking to Bam Bam about that the other day. He is who he is no matter where he is. And that's one of the reasons why he stopped playing rugby, because he was like, I couldn't fucking keep doing these interviews when they're telling me not to swear. And all I want to say was fucking great game. Do you know what I mean? People warm to that a lot and they really love it. And again, the same thing. I see that whole, maybe you should get into stand-up, because you get people like that, like Carlin. Carlin was a genius in getting a message across, but he added the funny to it. And I think a lot of people tend to remember it stores in their head a lot more when you're bringing the funny to it, you know?
100%. I mean, I think that now people get a sniff of media success, gratification, acknowledgement, and they see it as a wind in their sails, and they're so scared of losing that wind that they will conform to whatever it is. And people need to realize, I think that if anyone's listening in a similar role, our audiences are so much more intelligent than we give them credit for. And so many people think they don't see through shit. And, you know, there are so many influencers, in inverted commas, that will promote everything because they look at their audience as just someone they can sell to. Yeah. And then they get the paycheck or whatever it is. And they don't fail to realize that every action they do, they're seeing through human beings. Like, I always like to remind people that there's at least 6 million years of lineage behind every person. So if at any point, right, between you, your parents, your grandparents, the great grandparents going up, if one human being was not successful in a pairing, you wouldn't be here. 6 million years of that. And I was like, only the smartest motherfuckers make their way through. And I was like, you think you've got all the way here, and you might have unambitious people or bums or whatever it is, but we are, you know, intuitively so switched on. When someone's lying, you know. You
know, straight up, you know.
Someone can, you're like, what's up? No, nothing. You're like, something's up. Tell me what's up. Okay, I've done this. And you're like, and people, when they're like on social media, like, hey guys, welcome. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through on some of the, and you're like, this is fake bullshit. Yeah. And like with Bam Bam as well, him being just real, it's a lovable thing. And I'm surprised that, like, and again, Rogan, he is not afraid. He gets some criticism that, oh, Spotify this, Spotify that.
Yeah, but he's there to do what he's there to do.
It doesn't care.
Yeah, it's not about, you know, I mean, the thing I like with Rogan is, yeah, he's there for the fans, but he's there for the fans to hear what he's got to say about a certain subject. And if you don't like it, then unfollow me.
Yeah, I've been listening to a few podcasts recently of his, and he was talking about the first time you go looking for the pussy. Yeah. And I'm there. I put them on to fall asleep. And he's like, man, where you think it's going to be, go further. And I was like, I'm laughing in bed. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, they could have avoided this conversation. They're having it. And I was like, yes, keep having this.
That's why we need those conversations, bro. And that's what people want to tune in for. I mean, you know, you think a lot of people are here to to see you talk about fitness and that. But no, most of the people that are going to watch this are going to want to see your underwear. So at some point of this podcast, we're going to have to get them shorts off, bro, so I can get the views in, you know? We have to do it.
If anyone is interested in underwear, so I'm wearing Lululemon boxers, right? I'm not sponsored by Lululemon.
I was about to say, don't be plugging Lululemon unless we're getting some.
They signed Joe Wicks, the fucking prick.
We need to talk about that as well. But
mate, do you know what? I actually feel sorry for him. I've been ripping him for quite a long time, and I actually
for due cause.
I kind of feel bad now. But anyway, for anyone listening, genuine Lululemon boxers for men. I bought a pair. The day I tried a pair on, I threw away every single pair of boxers I have. It's changed my life. And women listening, get them for your husband, and men listening, get them for yourself. Like, I've never experienced such ball and dick comfort in my life. I feel like, you know, when something's just amazing, you say to people like, you need to use this.
Yeah.
It's one of them.
So this is the time where I should say, guys, make sure you go and follow Undergoods Underwear because they're the sponsor of this podcast and not Lululemon. Really thin, made out of microdermal fibers.
Do you know what they should do? They should get both.
Put them together, right?
Put them together.
Just put one on top of the other and you never know which one you're wearing, bro.
But what we do need to do, and what we can do backtrack here a little bit, is raise awareness for the poor standard of male underwear.
Yeah.
Because everyone seems to think Calvin Klein are the epitome of male underwear.
Bro, they're shit. They last about 3 weeks.
And Jack Wills. Yeah. Same again. And the technology that exists within underwear now, I can only speak from Lululemon, but things we go head to head now.
I can speak for Undergoods too.
You can tell me why Undergoods are better. Do you know what? I'm appreciative that Undergoods are in this market.
To be honest, I prefer going commando anyway, bro.
Prove it.
Huh?
I'm joking.
It's not the first time I showed you my balls with James, so it's not going to be anything straight. Dude, I really want to talk about this whole roid thing that you spoke about, because being in the industry, well, I don't know why I'm not talking. I think it's because you're so pretty, bro. You're literally Hitler's dream right now. I didn't even wear my wedding ring when I knew you were coming. Yeah, because being in the fitness industry, you see, it's really difficult, and especially for young kids getting into it, because it's a load of bollocks, all of it. Like 99.9% of what is portrayed as fitness is just a load of bollocks. It's unattainable. It's you know, you're not going to be happy looking like that. You go into gyms, there's these guys with bro science. You know, I've known people on roids and I'm like, what cycle are you on? They're like, I don't know, a couple of, and I'm like, what do you mean you don't know, bro?
It's
like, how do you not know?
It's kind of, it's a bit depressing really when you think about it, for the amount of muscle you'll gain in your first year will be your best. And then every year after that, you're looking at about half. So if you gain a kilogram in your first year, you get 500 grams your next year, then 250, then 125. Then by the time you're in your 5th year, I'm not surprised people are looking towards anabolic steroids. They've just gone balls to wall for a year and they don't even notice. No one else notices. Their strength increases might be significant, but then they're not anywhere near where they wanted to be. And for myself, I definitely wasn't. I hadn't maxed out my genetic capacity, but I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to cheat. I mean, let's look at festivals.
But I want to stop you there. Is it cheating? Because look, well, cheating who? You're not in a competition. You're not in a, I mean, who are you cheating? You're not cheating anyone.
So the cheating part that I would say is like, we're very good, human beings are very good at finding hacks to do things, right? Yeah. Like, you know, some heavy object, you just get loads of logs and roll it across it and take the log from the back, put it in. You can move it for miles on end if you wanted. But the same way that, for instance, what are the downsides of drinking alcohol? Well, you get sluggish, you get lethargic, and you run a kebab at 3 a.m. How can you cheat that? You take cocaine, and then people take cocaine, they keep themselves sharp, they can offset the kebab, save themselves a load of calories, be very, you know, and I'm not promoting drug use, but I'm saying
this is Jamessmithpt's fitness tips for Saturday night. Kebabs and cocaine is the best way to get to the goal body shape that you want.
But like you people say, why do you do cocaine? And I think it's quite obvious, you know, people do it. It makes them feel good, it straightens them out, and it actually brings a bonding conversation between people. And I think one of the most important questions to say to people is, why don't they do it every day?
Back in the day they did, man. Back in the day they had little satchels. I'm talking about like all of the, you know, Einstein and all of those guys. No wonder they changed so much in the world. They used to have satchels of coke on them.
Apparently Hitler had the best drugs in the world.
Well, you can tell that he had something. He was taking something, mate.
I heard a story about him, and he was deflated, he was fucked, he was tired, and he had a meeting with Mussolini where he had to convince Mussolini to carry on going to war. And they gave him testosterone and cocaine, like injected it, and he went in there and screamed at Mussolini till they continued. But then we have cheating as well in festivals where you don't want to eat. Same problems again. People have MDMA, and yeah, they get this amazing connection, euphoric connection with the music and the people around them. But then they get to dance all day, and you know, I remember going to a festival in the UK where a friend of mine was like, "I'm not going to touch any drugs." I said, "Cool." They were going separately to me, and the next day I said, "Oh, how was it?" She goes, I spent the whole time queuing to piss or queuing to buy a drink. I spent 120 quid. I said I spent about £20 on water. There was 3 refills, and I had a pill. It was £10.
And just pissed myself. So I just pissed on myself. I didn't have to go queue up for any bathrooms or anything.
So I was like, we have these like little shortcuts that are taken there. And I think that the progressive kind of realms that we have now with mental health and LSD, MDMA, even ketamine, there are clinics in the UK popping up. And I think the therapeutic processes are really promising. But again, then we have use and abuse. But then when we get to steroids, for a lot of people, you could easily sell to someone, hey, you could put on a year's worth of muscle in 12 weeks. And what are the downsides? Okay, well, when you come off cycle, there's going to be some therapy you need to do to ensure that you're, in a good place. And often because it's illegal, there's not enough kind of research or available information to it. Similar to, I would love in schools for them to say, like, this is what a gram of MDMA looks like. This is the implications of doing it, because you're looking at a gram of brown sugar. That's what it looks like. A kid buying that at 16 after he's had a few too many cans of Strongbow, going into a festival, seeing the sniffer dog and necking the whole thing. That's why kids are dying. Like, they don't understand what's going on. Same with people buying testosterone, where they don't understand that if they take that for 12 weeks, which is amazing, by the way. When you're on steroids, you feel amazing. You're like a dog with 2 dicks. You're like, you wake up and everyone thinks aggression's fighting. It's not. Aggression's like, I'm gonna kill this workout. I'm gonna go about the day. I'm gonna smash this set. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna bang my missus. I'm gonna cook her dinner. Then I'm gonna do that. And it's like an amazing feeling. But after upregulating a hormone for 12 weeks, like testosterone, your body will, as part of a homeostatic process, downregulate its production, and your balls become very small. So your testes shrink. Mine, remember, being the size of grapes, and I would lose them up inside me having sex. So like, my girlfriend at the time would be looking at me, I'm like, hold on. And I'd have to like push it. It'd be like, and then if people don't use the correct therapy at the end of their cycle, they can get gyno, where the excess testosterone is converted to estrogen. They have to take breast cancer drugs. In some cases, you take something that I once took called Pregnal, which is they give to boys with puberty when their balls don't drop. So you've got this really complex issue. And I remember once going to a doctor. I was like, hi, I'd like to get my bloods done. I'm going through PCT. They were like, what's PCT? I was like, post-psychotherapy. I was like, I've been taking this much testosterone enothate. She was like, I don't know what enothate is. And I was like, I'm running tamoxifen. She was like, that's a breast cancer drug. I was like, yeah.
One Novadex, Clomid.
But some of these like stacks that people are using online, often people that are sharing their stacks in these Reddit threads are the same people having their gyno cut out and having to go surgery, or haven't had a sex drive, or haven't been able to get it up, or all of these kind of things. And I think that if people could be more transparent, or even if there was like legalization and people say, look, this is what the pros are, this is what the cons are. But the issue comes where a lot of professional models or Gymshark athletes or whatever it is, you go on steroids for 3 years, 4 years, and build yourself a physique and restrict your diet to a certain point that you look a certain way. Someone will come along and give you £50,000 a year to wear their clothes. Suddenly your rent in a very nice flat in a very nice part of the UK is being paid for. So then you're like, oh, I might do a little bit more steroids. I might restrict my diet a little bit more. I might go another year without drinking. And before people know that their life can pass them by, and it comes down to values, doesn't it? And if their values are set around just solely that, they might go through life not fully living it.
It's a very difficult thing. I mean, there was a stage where I was sponsored by PhD Nutrition, all of this stuff. I was at all the muscle shows, and the stress of just having to stay. I mean, I looked like a giant erection, bro. I was just veiny and hard, bro, the whole time. And then after a while, I don't know if it's because I got older or whatever, I was just like, I can't be asked anymore. I just can't be asked. I'm not taking any of this stuff apart from the pre-workout, but I'm promoting it like a dickhead, saying this is the best protein and this is this and this is that. And I just felt a bit like fake, bro. It was just like, this is just not for me. I can't be asked. And the funniest thing is, more guys would compliment me than girls about my body.
And you'd find that you're actually training to impress other guys.
Yeah.
You think that if we were in the wild, right, we would be comparing sticks. You'd see me and you go, we're hunter-gatherers, you go, that's a fucking good stick. And then you go about your day like, I need to find a better stick. Or that's a fucking good cave. And you might, want to go in and kill someone to have their cave. But our alternative is we're all trying to impress each other. And there is this kind of like dominance hierarchy between men, where which man can be the most dominant. And I think that bodybuilding is a way for a lot of men to express that. But like you say, at what sacrifice, at what cost, at what, expense? Because I was very much obsessed as well. And I was spending, my mates would joke with me, my rugby mates, they go, you only got in shape to get a better pussy, and you don't even go out now. And it's one of those things where it's a very delicate balance, because you do become deflated. Like, you put on a bit of weight and you're like, oh. And another reason that I love jiu-jitsu is that I can go tour, put on 4 kilograms, I come back, no one can see it. They'll feel it when I'm on top of them. And I actually feel better when I'm gaining weight. I've got abundances of energy. It's so nice to set the marker at something beyond just how much fat you have and how much muscle you have.
This is really good that you did that segue to jiu-jitsu, because it was something that I wanted to talk about. How did you get into the jiu-jitsu world?
So I always knew the ground component of MMA was jiu-jitsu. I didn't know much about it. And when I was playing rugby, I was like, oh, if I do that, I'll be better at, manhandling people. And one thing I realized only probably this year was when I went back to play rugby. In an 80-minute game of rugby, you might only have your hands on someone for 30 seconds. Like, it sounds crazy. A tackle lasts 3 seconds. So
then you're huddling and getting back up again, and
then you're getting up
again.
And then you're running to tackle someone, then they pass the ball. And I was like, fuck, it could be 6 minutes before I get a sniff of touching someone again. Especially when I want to put in a big hit. Whereas with jiu-jitsu, you've got a lot of like contact time, and you're with someone for a 5-minute round. So originally at 24, I went to a local jiu-jitsu gym in Maidenhead, and I did 2 sessions. I did Tuesday and I did Thursday, and we were learning a triangle where you put your leg through the other leg and you have someone through it. And I remember the kind of mechanics of it. 2 weekends later, I was out on the piss with my mates, and we came back, about 5 of my mates, to my mum and dad's house, because I was still living at home. And I can't remember why, but I just slapped my mate around the back of the head.
Alcohol.
And he rugby tackled me to the floor. So I pushed his hand through, put him in a triangle, squeezed it up, and he was tapping. I was drunk, and I put him to sleep. And then I opened my legs, and he rolled off, and he was unconscious. And it's the first time I'd ever put anyone to sleep. And I was worried I killed him. I genuinely thought I'd killed him.
Really?
So there was a massive scream in the room. My sister was screaming. My mum and dad come out. There's me trying to I was like, what do you do when someone goes to sleep? I was like, do you give them mouth to mouth? Do I do the Heimlich maneuver? What do I do? And then my sister's got like a wet flannel, and I swear to God, it took us about 40 seconds to wake him up. By this point, my parents are out in their slippers, and my sister was screaming, James has killed Rob. Wow. And I was like, this is a dark moment. I didn't go back to jiu-jitsu for another 4 years.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to learn this. I genuinely was concerned that my mum would never let me do boxing or striking when I was younger. She'd seen that I had a bit of a temper, but not even, imagine someone losing their temper once every 2 years. That would be me. I'm a very calm person. But my mum was very worried about that time in 2 years, what I would do. She's like, if you learn to box, you're going to lose it one day and you're going to hurt someone. So my mum and dad would never let me box. And then after that jiu-jitsu thing, I was like, I shouldn't learn this. I don't need this confidence in my life. But then,
especially around alcohol, dude, because that's when you forget that, hold on a minute,
100%.
I can do a lot of damage. But that's the thing. Once you get into jiu-jitsu more, that's when you become more in control and more in...
100%. I was actually having... so then fast forward 4 years. I'm on Freshwater Beach in Sydney, and my mate's a bodybuilder, and he's bigger than me. And we had a play fight on the beach, and I pulled him into like my closed guard, but I couldn't get him off me. And I felt quite powerless. Like, we're only 2 mates having a play fight, but I realized I had no tool in my arsenal to beat him. And I couldn't beat him with my strength. 2 guys in budgie smokers, man. We're gonna
that's another segment, yeah.
But I remember how powerless I felt when we got up, and I vowed to myself, I was like, nah, this ain't happening again. So I went to a local BJJ gym, and I got into it, and I've trained very extensively over the last 4 years. To get my purple belt in 3.5 years was quite quick. And I'm obsessed with it. I genuinely think about it all the time. I've been very fortunate. We trained some of the best in the world. Tarek, who you've had on the podcast.
Tarek from
Mate.
Falcons. Tarek's big brother.
Have you rolled with him?
Not yet, bro. I will do. Tarek is a beast, dude. Tarek is but this is the thing that I want to talk about. And I spoke about it with Hoyce when I had Hoyce on the podcast and stuff. People like Tarek are the nicest guys, dude. But fucking weapons, dude. Weapons. Do you know what I mean?
Such a calm and welcoming guy.
Yeah, just like smiley and happy and everything. But sometimes when I'm talking to Tarek, I'm just like, if he wanted to, he could break me at any point, easily.
I would say you have less than 1,000% of people on the planet that could handle themselves against him. And have you ever played Monopoly Deal?
No, what's that?
It's like a Monopoly card game. There's a savage card in it called Just Say No. So you could be waiting 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You could be waiting the majority of the game. Then someone tries to fuck you, and you play Just Say No. You're like, no. And everyone's like, oh, shit. Tarek does that with his jiu-jitsu style. He lets me do whatever I want. And then just as I'm about to put on a submission, he just crunches something. And it's one of those things where if I like try and put a submission on his foot, I have to be so aware of what he's doing to mine. Because then when I feel him with my foot, instead of worrying about trying to get his, I was like, he's going to beat me here.
It's the misdirection as well, bro.
He plays this just say no card, and then he'll give me positions. And there's a picture of us on socials where I'm laughing because he's just let me pass his guard. There's no other way about it. So when I get on top of him, I'm holding him and I'm laughing. I go, you've just set a trap. And he's laughing as well. And he rolls me over and he fucks me up. And there's something so amazing about someone who's so much better than you smashing you, but you're having a good time at the same time. And this camaraderie that you have between men. And again, if we'd never had any contact, I feel our relationship, even just doing the podcast, would have been a little bit more apprehensive. But the fact that he said to me, this is my friend, you should go on this podcast, that kind of jiu-jitsu fighter community is so tight.
Yeah, it is, man. And shout out to Tarek for what he's doing with Falcons out here, because, you know, he's doing some big things out here, and it's amazing. How important is jiu-jitsu to you in your life?
Oh, it's massive. It's probably one of the most important things. And it's crazy because it's only been in my life 4 years, but like from a recognition, a business, and even a financial standpoint, my life in the last few years has taken off on a great trajectory, and you need something to be grounded. And you see a lot of people turn to religion because they need that level of humility. There's nothing better than, you know, when I go on those mats, no one cares, and they genuinely don't care. And it doesn't matter what you've accomplished, how many books you've sold or anything like that. People are going to put you in your place, and you're going to have to respect them with every bit of respect you have. But you're also going to have to go at them with the tenacity, with everything you have. But I'm also going to have to sit there and listen to everything they have to teach me. And having that like instillment of humility every day is one of the best things for me. And like I did a business to business event in Sydney where I got something like 300 personal trainers pay an extortionate amount of money for a day. I was confident they were going to make the money back. And on paper, I grossed the most amount of money I'd ever made from a single day event. It was nearly what I would earn in 2 years in my corporate job in a day. The next day, I went to ADCC and got smashed in my first match. And I lost to a heel hook in my first match. And I sat back and I loved that balance. I love that on a Saturday I can perform really well, and on Sunday reality comes crashing back down. And it's more than just a martial art. It's something to keep your brain busy for the next 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And it's something that I'll be able to teach my kids one day. It's something that, mate, even the girls I date, right? Some of them are now blue belts because I spoke about it so much. They started,
they did it,
and now they're addicted as well. And even when a girl, like, say I'm chilling on a sofa, like dating a chick, she puts her leg here, I'm like, so this is 50-50. This is outside Ashi. This is inside Ashi. Sometimes they look at you like, I don't fucking care. Then I'm like, from here, if I can reap the leg, we get the
exactly. This way is closer to my balls. No, but you know, like I said, we were talking today after our extremely hard roll, which I didn't sweat from at all. Most people can see on Instagram, I was pretty dry by the end of it. The calmness, it's just crazy how some of the best practitioners are so calm, dude, and so fluid that it's just crazy. Like somebody who's been doing jiu-jitsu, I'd say for maybe a month, the difference between them and somebody who isn't is so far apart, like in a real life situation. Like I remember when I first did my first, I was so panicky. Like when someone got on top of me, I was like, I can't breathe, and this, and then after a while, you're just like, oh, this is not.
It's crazy. When I started, I was the same, and I would get on top of someone and I'd hold them so tight, and my instructor would say, you weigh the same whether you're tensed or relaxed. So relax. You know, squeezing them really hard, you're just wasting energy. And the first time I got mounted, I remember panicking, trying to get the person off.
This is jiu-jitsu, right? We're still
mounted. And but then their chest is on my face, so I can barely breathe. So I'm fighting so hard, my heart rate's going up, my requirement for oxygen's going up. I'm literally having a full-blown panic attack inside someone's sweaty chest while they're pulling my face into it. Now I like it. When people panic when I mount them, I can just feel their battery energy level going down. And then there's a point where their soul escapes them and they just give up all the fight. And that's where you go for the submission. But now when I get mounted or I'm in side control, I'm literally 10% away from being asleep, because when you understand there's no threat here, or there's a threat coming. Even the beauty of it is when the threat finds its way to you, that's your way out. Yeah. So if someone's mounted me, they've got full control of me. They're going to have to give up a tiny bit of their stability if they want to attack my arm.
Yeah.
And when they do, I'll give it a go. And if it doesn't work, I tap. Yeah. And I also think that the implications of failing are so good in jiu-jitsu. You make a mistake, you tap. You make a mistake, someone progresses their position. If you do boxing or striking, if you don't have your glove up when you throw a hook and a hook's coming back, you're getting clapped in the face. And when we look at like brain trauma, head injury, what the implications of sparring can do.
CTE.
As a boxer, the sparring is the best part, but you can't spar very often. You spend the majority of your time hitting an object with no feedback. Maybe a pad, a bag, whatever. With jiu-jitsu, even on your first session, you can spar with someone, you can have full contact. And even when you're drilling, you're with another human that has reactions and a brain. And there's so much psychology to it. But probably my favorite part about it is that jiu-jitsu is an expression of art. So if me and you were to create 2 videos on the same subject, we would create it, edit it, and present it in a different way. And the way we present that information is a form of art. It's like using a canvas. And with jiu-jitsu, how you go about a submission, how you treat your opponent, and how you bait your opponent is also a huge kind of representation of who you are. Yeah,
definitely. It's definitely characters. I mean, that happens in a lot of martial arts where you see people's character comes out in their movement. And that's the one thing that I think is so beautiful about jiu-jitsu is that, especially when you're first starting it, you realize your body can move in ways that you've never really done. And even something as simple as shrimping on your first day is a disaster.
It's hard work.
It's a disaster. But then, after you keep going and stuff, it's just like, you don't even think about it. And it becomes the thing where it becomes so, repetitive that it just gets done.
We do cartwheels in the warm-up now.
Yeah.
So like we do cartwheels, forward roll, back rolls. And like now my cartwheel's getting quite good.
Yeah.
And like people, I'll be on the beach, I'll do a cartwheel. Where does that come from?
It's a little capoeirista going on. Yeah.
And like even like certain people are like, oh, you're quite flexible. You're like, oh, well, we actually need this mobility for jiu-jitsu. And like, it's crazy. I never stretched before in my life when I was bodybuilding. Or do you know what another crazy thing is? I do a lot less alcohol and a lot less drugs because of jiu-jitsu. Because I want to be fully attentive the next day. And Rickson Gracie, in his book, he said about this, that he knew no matter what the temptations were in Brazil with women and drugs and booze, he had to be on the mats the next day teaching, and he had to be on the mats the next day competing. And there's nothing worse than coming off the mats and not feeling like you were great that day. And definitely now, like even last night, went out for a meal, had a few gins, was like, oh, I'm going to bed. I was like, I'm training at 10 a.m. I almost don't want to let the team down as well. If I woke up hungover and I don't train, even on a bad day, I'm like, I'm going to be a great partner for someone else because they're going to tap the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
And I think now like it's such a good thing for like my mental health and to have something to focus on. We're seeing a lot of people now get into it, and people, I hope this is the reason why people are very welcoming. People like Tarek, anyone that has an MMA gym, even anyone in the Gracie family, because I'm not a fan of cryptocurrency or anything like that, but I feel jiu-jitsu is a cryptocurrency because the more we talk about it and inflate it, we are actually building up the gyms, the Gracie Bahas, the Hodja Gracies, the alliances, all of these gyms. The more we talk about jiu-jitsu, the more participation rate goes up in the world. The more money these gyms make, the more jiu-jitsu is worth. Yeah. But then also the more the knowledge is worth.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love the fact that there's, potentially black belts out there that are teaching as a side hustle. And if we can continue to inflate this currency, then these people can go full time. The demand is going to be there for more dojos and more gyms and more areas.
Yeah, definitely.
And I always have this like kind of thing in my mind where I'd love to get my black belt in the next 4 years. And it's like another little Uno card. Like if everything goes wrong in life, I get cancelled.
Another top score.
Yeah, I'll just +4. I will just open my own gym with everything I've got saved. And again, if social media went down, I could knock on every door in the town, go to a little coastal town in Sydney or Australia, knock on every door, get everyone to come do a free session. You get a few hundred people in your gym, you're set for life.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I heard you say this on Chris's show the other day. How difficult was that for you, by the way? Because when I go on radio and they say to me, yeah, you can't swear, I'm like, fuck off.
I was sweating.
Mate, I find it so hard to go on radio, mate, because all I want to do is just say bollocks or Do you know what I mean? When they're answering, so it takes me like a second to answer because I've got to figure it out in my head and take out all the swear words before.
I have to pretend I'm sat with like a girl's parents.
Yeah, right.
So, oh mate, it was difficult, but then I was so relieved when we finished because they were saying, "Oh, this person swore, this person's made a mistake." And again, it's not like you're swearing on like Swedish radio or English radio.
Yeah.
You're in a part of the world where you have to have a good amount of etiquette.
But the thing is, you won't get in trouble; they will. It's
that's even worse.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
Yeah,
they were kind enough to come on the show, have some fun, and then you kind of, I feel like I let them down.
You're fucking happy you came on the show now, right?
Fucking happy.
Did you meet any of the Gracies before?
So I got Hodge Gracie in my academy in London, so I train under him, and he is a monster, 10-time world champion. And if you were to ask, even recently, John Danaher, Gordon Ryan, some of the big dogs in the moment, they all point to him as the greatest of all time. Yeah. So the fact that when I go to training and I see him there at the mats, he's a very shy, humble guy, but he's a monster.
Yeah, he's a beast, bro.
And like, so having that first time, I came back from Ibiza, called me out straight away. Yeah. Kicked the living daylights out of me, and he's like, "Hey, welcome back."
This is your punishment for going out and stuff.
But they're such great people. Yeah. His dad as well, Mauricio Gomez. I think he's 61. I hope I've not got that wrong, but he's involved in all the classes. He's got his red and white belt. He's there showing us knee on belly. Every time he's watching, I make a mistake. You know, when you've got that external pressure watching you from afar and you just forget how to do stuff. Or like there's a hot chick in the gym and you find yourself on a hamstring curl and you needed the leg extension. You're like, play it cool.
You just carry on just like.
Yeah, I meant to be here.
Mate, so this is the part of the show where we give each other gifts. So I know you've got your one. And I'm going to give you mine. These are not the gift because these are just my shorts for the jacuzzi after, but I want to show you because we're going to get onto budgie smugglers, which what you wear, and we're going to get onto why is that? Because you're into the jiu-jitsu world so much. I got a little gift for you here.
Shut up.
And
thank you very much. I feel like an awful guest now. Oh, sick.
A gi signed by Hoist himself when he was on the show.
Shut up.
And it's a UAE gi, so you've got a memory of Dubai and a little bit of voice in there. Yes, there you can have a look at it, open it up. Don't worry.
Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate this.
So
that's actually sick. Yeah, that's a good gift. You've done well there.
Yeah, see. And now you can give me my gift.
Yeah, so my gift is
I told you to bring your budgie smugglers, mate.
I've got a pair of
this is the thing. I usually get guests to sign things for giveaways. Maybe we can sign some Speedos. I'm sure there's a couple of girls that would like those.
But now I'm in your debt. So now you're in a good position now. You're like, yo, James, remember that time I hooked you up with that key? Thank you very much.
Anytime, mate. So let's talk about the books.
You want to talk about budgie smugglers?
Well, we'll talk about that after. But let's talk about your books because they're doing really well, bro.
Thank you very much.
Bestsellers.
I actually I said no to doing a book. Like I openly was like, people only do this to make money, and I was like, no, I'd rather just keep selling my academy memberships. And then I have a manager I work very closely with. He's more like my best friend. It's almost like a discredit to call him my manager. And he sat me down and he was like, okay, with your approach that you have to your socials, a lot of people think you're a bellend. And he goes, if you write a book and it's in Tesco's or WH Smith's, they will see you and go, there's that bellend. They will pick it up. And if they read what you write, they may change their opinion on you. He goes, then you've got people that aren't on social media. Then you've got people that if they do see you on social media, won't like you. But if they're passed the book by someone, they will. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Interesting, yeah.
So as part of like my social media strategy, I run a creative email marketing campaign. So every day I send an email, nothing to do with fitness, whether it's a bad Tinder date or the fact that I paid £1,000 for 2 gin tonics last week.
Welcome to Dubai, my friend.
I was pissed. I gave my Amex. I didn't realize it was a minimum spend. I had 2 gin tonics. I was like, oh, fuck it. And I left and I got charged £1,000.
Best gin tonics you ever had.
5,000 dirhams. Yeah. I was like, thank you very much. So yeah, I didn't really want to write one, but I feel like I have that kind of creative juice in my mind. And writing the first book, not a diet book, I was smashed with my publishers in Hawksmoor in London. And my strategy director at HarperCollins was like, well, what are we going to call this book? Because it's not a diet book. And I was like, let's call it that.
Is that how we got the name?
Yeah, that's what I was like, oh, that's what we're calling it. And yeah, that was good. That smashed it. And again, that was a bit crazy. Because my mum and dad I'm 32, up until 24, nothing. Actually, up until 27, probably nothing crazy. 24 till 27, they're like, oh, my son's self-employed. I think that's quite cool when you're self-employed. And then for my dad to send me a picture And he takes a picture of the Sunday Times, and I can see his slippers in the picture. And for him to have his son at like Sunday Times #1 bestseller, I was like, that's sick. And then we managed to do that twice with the second book, where I'm sure you've done this in your time as a PT. You spend your time giving a lot of advice that's not fitness. And you're there like, you need to break up with that guy, or you need to move out from your parents.
Because you're a psychologist. So a lot of people will do it because A, because they want to hang out with you. B, because they want to tell you all their problems. And then C, because you're a good PT.
And it's part of the territory. And it's not to say that, go to a PT if you've got mental problems. That's not what we're saying. But it's one of those things where, you say you're with your client, you're like, look, move out from your parents, start dating, get on with it. Or, they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I need to go to Ibiza. You're like, go to Ibiza. And there's so much of this kind of advice. And I was like, I can write this in a book format and let people know why they're in relationships they shouldn't be in, why they're still invested in a marriage or whatever. And the second book called it Not a Life Coach, because I was like, I don't want to be Tony Robbins. I don't want to be there like, you just go into a cubicle, put your arms above your head, and you're going to have so much free-flowing testosterone. You're like, I didn't want to be that.
Let's run on some coal after.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun to write as well. And yeah, so the books have done really well. I'm really grateful to everyone that's done them or read them. The audiobooks, I think, went down really well because of the amount of podcasting. It's very weird for me to think that I think we've had millions of hours of downloads, like yourself as well. To fathom that millions of hours of your voice have been heard in people's ears, it's very strange.
It is, isn't it?
Do you get it? Where people come up to you and they're like, I'm listening to a podcast.
Yeah, I get that. And it's a bit weird.
You can't react to it. You're not, oh, that's fucking sick. You're like, wow.
Yeah, thanks, yeah.
No,
but
cool.
the thing is, it's kind of weird because part of you goes, well, yeah, that's why I did it. So all of you can listen to it. And then the other part of you goes, oh, this is actually quite nice.
Is some of the interactions are mental. Like in gyms, it's amazing. Oh, I'm listening to your podcast. And I'm like, why are you listening to a podcast in a workout? Why? Who does that?
I do that, bro. That's why I started podcasting. I'd be fucking benching, listening to like Bobby Lee and Theo Vaughn and shit, cracking up laughing with 100 kilos on a bench press. That's all I listen to when I train. It's really weird.
I hate weight training so much now. I need to listen to like angry music or like something that's going to make me go deaf so I can actually finish the set. But I used to love podcasts when driving, and I use them to fall asleep. I put a 15-minute timer on, and then if I'm not asleep, I do another 15-minute timer. And even some nights I get into bed an hour before I'm even tired and just sit there in the dark laughing. And I don't know what I'd do without them. I used to do audiobooks. I went through a stage of doing audiobooks, but I love just general conversation between people.
Yeah, did you ever listen to Ricky Gervais, Carl Pilkington and Stephen Merchant?
Mate, that was the best.
Mate, every night, bro.
I wish I was called Brett.
Yeah, bro, he's my spirit animal.
Mate, do you know what? I love Gervais, and I think that people say, oh, you're the Gordon Ramsay of fitness. I've never actually seen more than maybe 2 minutes of Gordon Ramsay, but Gervais, I have watched a lot of his stuff. And I'm told that in my live talks, I pick up his mannerisms.
Okay.
And I bleached my hair like a few months ago, and I walk out on stage, I'm like, shut up, great haircut. Or go, what's that? Better looking in real life? Fuck off. And then I'm like, oh shit.
That's so Gervais,
I watched Gervais back, and I'm like, oh. And then even again, like sometimes I'll finish the sentence and be like, fuck off. And then I'm like, I've definitely
But this is the good thing. Like when people do that, it takes away all the arrogance because they know you're kind of pissing about, but not pissing about at the same time. It's just like, do you know what I mean?
I think he has to be one of the best minds of the modern generation because like he goes, you're offended. I found it funny. That's why I'm happier than you.
Exactly.
And just some of the ways, have you seen Afterlife?
Of course, mate. I've seen all of them.
God, I was about to say, if you haven't seen it. Like the way Afterlife depicts modern life situations and brings them to light, like, I wasn't sure if I was laughing or crying. They go, don't worry about it.
Yeah. And what he says to that little kid as well. Not you, but the little ginger guy. Perfect.
It's so amazing and refreshing to have that kind of level of like intellect and intelligence whilst making people laugh. And do you know what? I must have watched Afterlife maybe 3-4 times around because when I find out people haven't watched it, I'm like, we're going to watch that.
Yeah.
I did that with Interstellar the other night. I saw it about 3 weeks ago. I'm like, you haven't seen Interstellar? I'm like, sit the fuck down. They're like, didn't you just watch this? Shut up. I catch them on their phone. I'm slapping their phone at their
just said, no, you need to watch this.
Yeah.
Mate, now that we're talking about afterlife, it's quite an interesting question that I like to kind of, because I think about death a lot. Not in a negative way, not in a
I think it's one of the most important things.
I'm very aware of it daily. How old were you, do you reckon, when you kind of had a realization of your own mortality and that not to take life too seriously because of, in the end of it?
Probably when I was like 18, 19, 20. I remember I wasn't even close to him at all, but one of my teammates in rugby got testicular cancer. He found the lump on the Friday. He had both of them cut off on the Sunday, and he was dead within 10 months.
Wow.
And like, I was like, ah, shit. Then there was another girl that didn't even go to my school, which was from my area. She saved up for a house with her partner. I think they bought their first house at 22. And then she got a rare form of cancer and she was dead about 2 years later. I remember one of her friends saying that she never went on a girl's holiday because she was saving for a house.
Wow.
And I was like, and I think those things definitely sat with me. Even a girl I was dating, actually, her 8-year-old brother got cancer. And I think he ended up dying on Christmas Day. And I was like, they weren't particularly close to me to the point that I was affected from it, but I took lessons from it. And I was like, well, do you know what? Spending your 20s saving up for a mortgage, for most people, is probably a smart idea, but there's a risk. And, you know, a lot of dudes that could be in a good bit of health. This player, his name's Tom Agar, amazing at catching kickoffs. And I remember like, I was like, fuck, I was like, any one of us could go at any point. And I'm sure that Friday that he woke up, he did not expect to get that news. And humans massively underestimate the statistical chances of bad things happening to them. People get hit by a bus, do not wake up going, oh, I'm going to get hit by a bus today. So it's always been in my mind, and I've always had that kind of carefree attitude to it. And, you know, my dad's been influential with that, where wherever I've positioned anything I want to do to him, I'm like, oh, I might go Asia for 6 months. He's like, yeah, go enjoy yourself. He always says to me that you're a long time dead. He's always like, he's trying to drill that into me. And yeah, I think that it's foolish to not think about mortality. It's foolish to not think about how easy it is for humans to die as well. And yeah, it's
how fickle it all is, and how
and all of it's going to be over very soon. And there are people out there that are doing the right thing, so they think. And I love saying to them, I'm like, look, you're not promised anything. And that's why I do love living such a carefree life. There are times where I'm like, oh, I might be in a bit ridiculous, like going away on all these trips and stuff like that. But me and my mate, we were fucking coked up one evening. We'd been drinking all night. We sat around. It's like 3, 4 in the morning. And he's one of my best mates. And he says, I'll tell you what. He goes, one day, when we're sat around all our family and we're going to get a verdict on something like cancer, he goes, the second you're told you're going to die, you got to shout out fair play. And he's like, you got to mean it. He's like, you got to go fair play. And he goes, you have to say that with all your heart. And he goes, if we don't live our life the whole way up until that day that happens, without living towards being able to say that, we're not living life right. Because if you get that news, and I often think about this actually as well, if I got the news today I was going to die, I don't think I'd be as sad as most people. I'd be like, oh, what an innings. Yeah. I'd want to celebrate.
A lot of people on their deathbeds aren't actually as, it's weird. They have a calmness about them and just an acceptance that is going to happen. And I always say the same thing to people. I say, you know, when brothers and sisters are going through mad beef and they're not talking for years, or when people have these arguments with people, I always say, look, there's going to come a time where either they're going to bury you or you're going to bury them. Like one of you is going to get a phone call that the other person's dead. How do you think you'd react in that time? Is it really worth it? Like, and sometimes it happens much before, a long time before you'd ever expect it to. So sometimes things are just so silly and people over exaggerate these arguments and these things. And it's just like,
I saw a Will Smith video on TikTok. So it's not like the most credible source of anything, but he goes, when you say goodbye to someone, you don't know that is the you're going to have another opportunity to speak to that person. He goes, that's what this should be about. And he goes, we live in this age with like social media and everything. He goes, when you say goodbye and you look that person in the eyes, think a second that it could be the last time. And I was like, oof, that's profound.
And that will change your goodbye as well.
Yeah. Bro, so good to see you.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Great.
Yeah.
Rather than safe, see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, mate.
Yeah.
Or bye, yeah.
And so like, I think that the tragic things will always happen to people around us, but people need to use that as a motivator to enjoy life. Like, you know, it should be a reminder of how fragile and precious life is. And yeah, it's definitely one of those things. Do you know what? That thought about death and mortality actually gets me excited to have children. So a good friend of mine got COVID pretty bad, and he's an athlete. He actually was, you remember Max and Muscle Protein?
Yeah, of course.
There was the Cyclone that had a 6-pack on the front. That's his 6-pack. But he got COVID and he nearly died from it.
Wow.
He was in like an ICU. He's a massive black Nigerian bodybuilder, and his cardio is not great. So that's probably what let him down. His name's Paul Lima, and he sits there and he was saying that when he was on his deathbed, he was just so grateful he had kids, and that got me. I was like, oh, that he's like, I've set a life up for them. I brought them up. They're going to be fine.
It's everything.
Yeah, his lineage is going to grow. I think that's a very masculine thing as well, where I was like, fuck, if I got, tomorrow the nod that you got testicular cancer and they chop your nuts off, I can't have kids.
You're not saving any of the...
No, not yet.
You're just wasting it all, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, it's all around the Grosvenor House hotel room.
Exactly. Mate, it's the craziest thing. Like, I'll give you an example. This last week has been one of the most traumatic weeks of my life. I've got 2 twins. Well, actually, I've got twins. So there's not 4 of them. The other day I was in a bit of a gruesome story, but I'll tell you anyway. I was in the bedroom. My wife's juicing with the boys, which what we always do. You know those expensive juicers with the little hole in the top, and
yeah,
they're all juicing. I hear screaming coming from the living room. So I'm thinking they're pissing about. Then the screaming gets louder and I hear my name. So I'm running out there. I'm thinking, okay, worst case scenario, one of them's fallen over. There's a bit of blood and they're all kind of getting, over dramatic over it. I come around the corner. Little Zane has put his hand in the juicer while it's on. He's thought it's off. My wife turned around for 1 second. Something he's never done before. Okay? Crushed his hand in the juicer. Hand looks like he picked up a grenade, bro, and it blew up. I'm in this position now where I'm smashing the juicer open, taking it out, looking at my poor little baby's hand. Had to run him, blood all over me, run him to the hospital. They've had to stitch his little hand together. All this happened in 1 second, bro. Like, fuck. In 1 second. And as a parent, bro, like, I feel like crying now. I still haven't kind of processed it because I've got to be the dad and I've got to be like, everything's all right and knowing this.
Oh,
and
you're
that.
fine.
Yeah, and clean and all that stuff. 3 days later, my other one smashes his head on the corner of a thing. He's got a UFC gash in his forehead, bro. This thick. I even called Bam Bam and I said to him, mate, is your cut man available? I had to take him to the hospital to stitch his head up. I sat down when I got home and I was like, what kind of fucking week is this, mate? Like, but that just goes to the point. In a second, everything can go tits up.
Oh, mate.
Like, alhamdulillah, everything's okay. And, they managed to, he didn't lose any fingers or whatever. They stitched him back up and that, but...
You realise how precious that putting your hand in one place.
In a second. And the thing is, my boys are very smart. They don't do stupid shit. So we've juiced for 2 years in front of them. They know what a juicer is, How this happened and why he got the idea. I mean, he said he saw an apple and he went to get it. But usually he would never have done that. So even when you think things are normal and safe, anything could happen, bro.
See, like that's probably another like anxiety. At the moment, I just need to look after myself.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. You've got like several entities. Like for me, when I look at my phone, I'm like, who's suing me?
Yeah, right.
When I get a missed call, I'm like, oh shit, like what's going on? But like, again, you must have that extended one where you got 2 missed calls. You're like, oh fuck, what's happened?
Do you know what I mean?
Here's an interesting one. This will be good for your podcast as well. So 32, currently technically single. And I'm getting to this point in life where I was like, fuck, at any point you could worry about, kids, whatever it is. So I'm adopted. So I'm quite open about the fact that I'm adopted. I was joking around with the makeup lady as well, saying that I'm Irish. So I'm actually adopted from Ireland. So in 1989, you couldn't have had an abortion. You're not even supposed to be pregnant out of wedlock. Mm-hmm. So my mum at the time flew over to the UK, met my parents, like an organized thing. But I remind people that I've never met a blood relative. So then the idea of like, you've got kids, you've got parents, you've got your wife, everything. I've never met a blood relative.
Wow.
So that's quite an interesting thing that I like to say to people. The 2 things there, that one, I can't wait for that bond. I can't wait for people, for hundreds of thousands of people around the world to see that, because that'll be the first time I've ever seen myself in anything. But then the second time I like to be so vocal about it is that there's almost a stigma between adopting a child or having, someone that isn't of your own blood. We've lived very much in a society where worrying that, people's rate of fertility is declining quite aggressively. But at the same time, like the default, I'm very pro-choice as well. With everything that's going on in America, I'm like, look, if you don't have a kid, don't have a kid. But I feel like we almost have lost out the 2 valiant efforts of potentially having a child and giving it up to someone else. And then for people to potentially raise someone else's child. Yeah. In some cultures, it's very normal.
Yeah, dude, I mean, that's definitely something I would do. But now that you've brought it up, I'd like you to introduce you to your brother Mohammed, come. You are actually Egyptian, and we brought Mohammed here to kind of meet you. You always wondered why you warm to Arabic girls, and this is why.
Salam alaikum, my brother.
All right, what can you? I mean, what are the future plans, and what can you tell people as a little personal message about kind of changing a few habits? Because I mean, I know a lot of people get you on, and all they want to talk about is fitness and stuff. But I kind of wanted to kind of bring out more about you and who you are as a person. Some
of the best lessons that I've learned in life, one that I talk about a lot, the sunk cost fallacy, where don't remain invested in something based off how much money, effort and time you've already invested. You must make a decision based on where you're at. Your mortgage with that person does not change the fact you don't love them. Mm-hmm. You know, the amount of time you spent with them doesn't change the fact that you don't want to be with them. The amount of time you've worked in your job doesn't dictate whether or not you stay there. And people should never mistake passion with being good at a job. Because a lot of people are good at recruitment. Find me someone who's really passionate about it and I'll fucking I'll eat my hat. And then probably some of the other kind of key lessons that I love to tell people, happiness and pleasure are two different things. Pleasure, you can never get enough of it. Happiness is the very simple things in life. Now, you can live a life of happiness without pleasure, but you can't live a life of pleasure without happiness. And, you know, there was a time earlier on this year where I stopped drinking for a bit because I was having too much pleasure and not enough happiness. And there are going to be times in our life where we're facing very, very tough decisions. And you have to ask yourself, is that decision going to bring me more pleasure or is it going to make me more happy? And, you know, potentially leaving a partner that you don't want to be with means less pleasure, more happiness. You should take it. Potentially taking a job that pays less, but you'll be happier doing it. You're going to be able to afford less pleasurable things, but you'll be happier. You know, doing a job you hate for more money means that you're going to be less happy, but you're going to have access to more pleasure. And people really need to understand and differentiate the two, because one will take you down a path of poor mental health and one will take you down a path of probably enjoying your life a lot more.
I like that, B. I really like that. And future plans? Where's Jamessmithpt going apart from
going to America,
making more money and
going to America this weekend? I want to train with a jiu-jitsu team in Texas, where I really admire all of the people that are in there. I can't wait to get beaten up by them.
If you get in,
if I get in, I've got to get into America, then I've got to try and get into the jiu-jitsu team. Yeah. Then I've got some events left in the UK. I probably will start a third book
called Not Another Book.
No. I'm getting rid of that. And yeah, just I can't wait to go back to Australia. It sounds really crazy, but like when I got there, every time I've been there, there's just another level of happiness. And it's a pretty simple place. Not many things.
I liked Australia a lot.
But when I get there and I'm with my friends, like I can go months without drinking in Oz because of how happy I am there, and I feel like I'm on a constant holiday. And yeah, the sooner I can set up myself there and then just leave for craziness. Like, oh, James, you got a crazy schedule in London, doing a tour, 50 shows in 60 days. Cool. Go there, come back, have a beautiful wife on the beach for kids. That's the dream. And
when are you doing a tour in Dubai, mate? People are waiting. I'm getting a lot of messages.
Soon. Not that soon, actually. I'm probably not going to tour again this year, but early, mid next year, because what we'll probably do is I'll write another book, then we'll tour off the back of the content of the book.
Nice.
So then you can use it to really have fun with people.
And any messages to the ladies out there? Because I put a post up going, and I do this for my guests. I go, so-and-so's in the studio. Got any messages, any questions, any blah, blah, blah. Now, I thought I was going to get a lot of fitness questions. No. All I got was women going, send me a dick pic. Ask him what he's doing. Is he single? Is he dating? Can I come to the studio? What's happening? I mean, I think I got one of my friends here now upstairs. And she was like, yeah, I want to come and support you on a podcast. You ain't never come to any of my other podcasts, dude. Yeah, you know who you are. Ever. Never before. But for Jamessmithpt, everybody wants to support Jibber with Jabber. So any message for them?
Bonjour. That's what I'd say.
Bonjour.
Comment ça va?
And are you looking for a Mrs. Smith? Who's not going to fight you like Angelina Jolie?
Yeah. I think everyone is. And I think that like a lot of men sit behind like a macho bravado, but I think that every man, if he's intelligent, will quit the game for the right woman.
Do you feel like it's harder for you to find the right woman now because of the fame and the trajectory that your options have become so much more than before? And
also over the last few years, I've had to work a lot less for sex, which is really not healthy for a male mind.
Yeah,
I actually think it's concerning because I think it's such an integral part of the concoction of love and intimacy comes from having to work for sex.
Yeah. You don't appreciate it as much.
You don't. And then suddenly if someone goes, you got to take me for a drink first, you're like, fuck, I'll DM someone else.
I've got a fucking million DMs that don't want to drink.
But then, that's concerning at the same time. But then also I've created, and I'm not saying this to be like a dickhead. I'm saying this because I think men need to be really hyper aware of this. And a lot of guys are like, I bet you get all the pussy in the world. And I'm like, that's dysfunctional. I appreciate that. And I sit here and I go, this is only going to make my time more difficult. So like, so you have that, but then I've also created such an amazing life that I will have to give up some of my life for a woman. If I'm to be a good partner, a good husband, whatever. So they have to they're at a disadvantage because they have to bring a lot to the table. And because I'm very self-sufficient, I can go anywhere in the world with my laptop and live a very good life. It makes you very quick to just go, fuck this. And fixed and growth mindset in business, no matter what challenge you throw at me, I'll overcome it. But in relationships, I'm still very fixed. I'm very quick to blame and very quick to just pull the ejector cord. My friends send the gif of a fighter pilot jumping out of a jet plane. They say that's me in a relationship. They're like, when you next seen so-and-so? I'm like, oh yeah, dumped her last night.
It was a week. It lasted a week. Dude, that's like my brother. My brother's the same. He's older than me. Like literally, I won't introduce him to any of my friends. Ever. Even if he goes, oh yeah, I'm like, nope. I want to remain friends with them. I'm not going to, let you lot go out for a week. And then after that, I'm just like awkward and just like, oh, okay, that's fucking done now, isn't it? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So hopefully in the next year or so, I'll find someone nice, retire, go off into the night.
Well, maybe we can do that as our giveaway. How long are you here for?
Lady number one.
Yeah. How long are you here for now? You got another week, right?
No, I'm here till Saturday.
Here till Saturday. So Saturday morning we're doing a brunch with Jamessmithpt. I'll be giving away tickets. Well, I'll be selling tickets on my Instagram page. So DM me if you want to do that. Don't worry, he's up for it. And that'll be it. Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Mate, thank you very much.
Time's gone so quick, but I know that you'll be back and
we'll do a season 2.
Part 2 on book 5.
Yeah.
And yeah, man.
We'll call it Not a Millionaire.
Well, I don't know. By then, bro, you're getting pretty close, bro. Pretty close. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming down and taking out the time. Sorry we don't have more time. It's already been an hour and a half,
Mate, really appreciate it. This is awesome. Thanks for ruining every podcast I'll ever do after this. Because after tonight, I'll go in somewhere and I'll be like, where's your aircon? Where's your team?
Exactly. There's no car.
What's going on? What, you didn't give me a signed gi? Why can't I look at myself on screen?
Oh, mate, I forgot one thing now that you mentioned it. Why the budgie smugglers, mate?
Okay, so I think it's really important not to take yourself too seriously. Okay. And it started off as a joke. My rugby team would get them, we'd wear them under our shorts. And I actually had a pair when I went to Asia. I wore them on the beach for about an hour and shit my pants. But then when I was in Australia, I went to the Great Barrier Reef with a friend and we wore them when we were like snorkeling around with the fish and the girls were giggling or whatever. And then realized that of a boat of like 50 people, 25 girls, 25 guys, we were getting the attention from the girls because they were like, oh, we'll go have a Corona with them boys because they're funny.
Yeah, because they're wearing them. They must be funny, mate.
Yeah. And then we started wearing them to the beach and it's almost like, a British thing, like you take the piss out of having a small dick or being really shit in bed. And women find it funny and endearing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, that guy just said he's shit in bed. Yeah. And then a lot of other people don't get it. And suddenly if you start to have a group, we did Yacht Week in Croatia and we were known as the budgie boat, the guys that were in budgies on a boat. And suddenly after a while, like it just became like the norm and it became fun. And I've had it before where like a girl on a boat party once said, oh, you'd be quite fit if you didn't wear those. And I was like, I wear these to repel people like you.
Be like you.
Because, I half the year round, I have a obnoxious mustache.
I've seen it, the tash.
And some people are like, well, why'd you have a tash? And I'm like, well, it repels the majority of women. And the women that are left with daddy issues are the ones that, are the ones that are like you. So,
dodge.
Again, I just try to, at any point, I had a bit of a longer mullet last week. At any point, I try and repel. If you can repel the masses, you'll be left with a small amount of people that really enjoy your company. And everyone else out there is battling for the same ground. If we look at Dubai, Versace shorts, stainless Rolex, slick back hair, the same aviator sunglasses, you're all your McQueen trainers,
cookie cutter,
you're all Dubai starter kit with your little man bags. I come along with a mullet, a tash and budgie smugglers. Someone's going, oh, this is refreshing.
So mate, I think we need to get the budgie smugglers on and go in jacuzzi and
I forgot to cut.
You didn't do the manscaping. Manscaped, also a sponsor of this podcast.
Are they?
No, they will be. I've been speaking to them on emails. Dude, thank you again. And you know, much success to you. If you could write about me in your next book, I think that would be great.
The day that changed my life.
The day I went on the podcast and I saw the light. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, put a comment in the comments if that makes any sense, and I'll see you next time. Boom.